This episode of the Old Dogs REI Network is brought to you by Mino Studio. Welcome to the Old Dogs REI Network, where cash flow is king. Real estate investing, the means, so you can enjoy your retirement dreams. This is the show where we cut right to the chase. No sales pitch, no long monologues, just simple how-to real estate investing advice, so you can earn the passive income you need to enjoy your retirement today. And now, your host and chief old dog, Bill Manassero.
Hello, old dogs, and welcome to
Fun Facts Friday.
This is our once-a-week, only on Friday show, where we have special episodes not featuring guests, where I will share tricks, tips, terminology, and techniques that will help skyrocket you to real estate investing success. Today's topic is Ask Bill. Private money versus bank loans, real estate college degrees, and real estate investing for $500. Yes, we're coming back to an Ask Bill episode. It has been a while since we put one of these together, so we're going to have some fun with it today. But before we get started, I just wanted to just make sure everybody is doing okay out there, that your real estate investing efforts are going well. I know some of you are all different stages. Some of you guys are researching things. Some are actually very active real estate investors. Some are very sophisticated real estate investors. Some are beginners. We're all over the place here, but we're here to help you. So if I can be of a resource to you, you just let me know, because you can reach me by email. All my contact info. You guys had that stuff. So I'd love to be of service if I can to you in any way I can. So, I wanted to set it up like a cool little thing where you could like book appointments and stuff, but it's just like too high tech for me. Okay. Trying to pick out these anyway. So anyway, it'd be better just to send me an email. Okay. Well, let's move on with our tip of the week before we get started here. Make your first investment a house hack. Okay, now I know there's a lot of you guys out there that are just taking a look at how you're going to get started. You're going to buy a rental property, you're going to buy a turnkey property, maybe you're going to invest in a syndication. There's a lot of different ways to get involved in real estate investing. But my recommendation, if you are gutsy enough, okay, and I'm actually looking at doing the same thing. I've never done it before, but as some of you may know, we are looking to move next year, and we might move into a duplex, triplex, or fourplex. And if we do, we're going to house hack for at least a year. I think it'll be a good experience for us. It'd be kind of crazy. And we'll just kind of start building up our investment portfolio in our new neighborhood. My advice to you is do this. This is a good way to do it. If you have limited funds, it's even better. You can get an FHA loan if you qualify, 3.5% down. You do have to pay some mortgage insurance, but it's still pretty cool. So there are a lot of options there, but there's good things and bad things, but you'll learn about landlording, you'll learn about tenants, you'll learn a lot in this process. It's a great way to get started, just jumping in, and a way to really get going there. So I would encourage you to do that, and as part of that, do a house hack. Again, it's a good way to learn a lot about rental properties and being a landlord and all that stuff. Okay, well, let's jump into our topic. This is our Ask Bill segment, which we haven't done in a while, but basically this is where I answer questions that I've received either by email from you guys, like I had mentioned a little earlier. If you want to send me questions, I'll answer them maybe on the air here. Also in-person conversations, phone calls, also through online portals where I'm active or sometimes active, like biggerpockets.com and Quora. So I also am on Reddit, but I don't know. I think I maybe answered one question on Reddit. But anyway, these are just questions that come up that sound like they might be good for more than just the person I'm answering it for. So let's jump in, okay? These topics are private money versus bank loans, real estate, college degrees, and real estate investing for $500. Okay, well, let's start with our first one here. And the question is, while it may be easier for private lender / partners to invest on your real estate property when you start off, isn't a bank a cheaper way to obtain money after you build up equity on your own? Absolutely is the answer to that. Yes, definitely. I encourage everybody to establish relationships with their local bankers. If you're out of state, it's a little tougher, to be honest with you. I've tried to establish those relationships from afar, and it doesn't always work that great. But I do, recommend that you build those relationships. Maybe in the beginning, they might not touch it because you may not have the experience, or you may not have the credit, or whatever it may be that you have to get set up there. So, but I would recommend early on that although there are certain, advantages, with private money, such as you don't have to go through all the the application process and all these other steps involved. It does, banking, you can usually get pretty good rates in the banking world as compared to private money. As for joint business partners, it's a little different to those that want to truly expand their portfolio. It's nearly impossible to do that with your own funds, especially if you're just starting out. So it's a good idea to partner if you can find that person maybe that wants to invest in real estate but doesn't want to do the legwork. And if you're willing to do the legwork, that's a great way to establish maybe a long-term partnership, or maybe just a one-deal partnership. But I think the key thing is you want to try to build up a portfolio while you're building that portfolio up, whether you do it through private money or not. You get 2 or 3 properties under your belt, and it makes it a little bit easier for that bank to grant you the next mortgage. Keep in mind, a lot of banks, it's sort of a 10 property limit. So if you're buying single family homes, that could add up really quickly. Now, if you're doing it as a husband and wife, then you can have 10 per person, so you can do 20 that way. But it is if you kind of max out on that end, then you can go into private money or syndication or many other ways to still be able to purchase properties. So that is my comments on that. Yes, go for the bank if you can do it, but in the beginning you kind of have to do what you got to do, like we were talking about, house hacking a duplex or something like that to get started with an FHA loan, for example. Okay, let's go to the second question. If I want to become a real estate investor, is it worth it to get a real estate degree? Now, this is an area where I personally, when I first heard it, I said, of course not. But it depends on what kind of real estate you're doing. And there are lots of different ways to invest in real estate. The more complicated the transactions become, like with commercial real estate, you might want to have a little bit more knowledge there. Either way, you're going to need some training or something to be able to understand the transactions, how to analyze properties, markets, and so forth in those areas. But, just looking at like 3 different common areas. For example, if you want to be a realtor, if you want to become a realtor, you have a state pre-licensing course, and then you have to pass the state exam. And that usually gets you in there. You don't need a college degree. You just have to be able to pass that exam and find a place to hang your license. So you have to make a connection with some kind of a broker that you can do that with. But again, the education is kind of limited to really just passing that exam to get started. If you're an investor, of course, you don't need that. Some people say, hey, I'm glad I have my real estate license. I'm able to not only make money on my transactions, but I also can make commissions. Also, when I sell things, I can make, money that way. And then I hear others that say, hey, it's kind of a drag because I always have to disclose that I am a realtor. So, it's kind of, pros and cons on both sides on that side. But as an investor, you don't really need to, to have any kind of education for the most part. You could just, get some great books. So we have a list of 20 of our top real estate investing books on the Old Dogs website at olddogsreinetwork.com and /resources. There's also podcasts, of course. You're listening to one right now. You know about those. YouTube videos, a lot of, sort of free information that you can get, good quality. Some of it's questionable, but there's a lot of free stuff out there. But then I would complement that with doing something with a mentor and finding a mentor that'll, especially starting later in life, you just don't want to have to go through more mistakes than you're going to, or everybody's going to experience some kind of mistakes and issues, but you can limit your risk if you have a good mentor that you're working with. So I'd recommend also, getting a mentor. Some people like to work. Maybe they'll work with a property manager for a few years and see the inside operations of how to manage properties. Some will get jobs with contractors or people on the construction side, or there's so many different aspects of real estate. And then sort of another area is a real estate attorney. Granted, you're not really necessarily an investor. You might just be doing transactions, but not only are you going to need an undergraduate degree, and some people recommend getting a real estate oriented undergraduate degree, but then you're going to have to go to the law school and pass the bar exam and all that as well if you want to handle the legal side of things. Again, I know real estate investors that are attorneys, and they actually do have some advantages there because you're dealing with a lot of documents and a lot of potential liability and risk, and to understand the law is definitely an advantage. So that's just back to the original question. Do you need a degree to be a real estate investor? No, you don't. But there are other areas that you may get into real estate related as an investor that you might be wise to at least get that official training. Okay, let's go to our third one. Can I invest in real estate for $500? Now, I've addressed this one before on our website. In fact, I'll have a link to a particular blog that I wrote on this. But basically, yes, you can. In fact, you can invest in real estate for $10. That is correct. Groundfloor.com is a portal that we've had their CEO on our show, and you can invest for $100. You could invest in 10 different properties on groundfloor.com. So, and there are other crowd-funded sites where you can also invest for very little. Now, granted, you're not going to have a lot of control, but you might get the benefits because investing in real estate can be profitable. So, but I'm just going to run through a real quick list of 9, and I'll have a link to them. You can find out more detail on these. But here are some great places where you can invest for $500 or less. Okay. Number 1, bidforassets.com, just like it sounds. You can actually bid $1 minimum on actual properties across the country in numerous states. And granted, I don't know if you're going to get it for $1. Chances are you'll probably bid up higher, but I have had properties that I've bid on for in the hundreds through bidforassets.com. So that is a real possibility. You can get just raw land, or you can get a property that actually has a building on it. Number 2, Ground Floor. I mentioned them. You can invest in 50 different projects, just a ton of for $10. $10 per project. So it's a kind of a way to diversify your money across multiple projects. So, if one doesn't pay that well, you got another one to back it up. Wholesaling, we've talked about that, and I've got links to wholesaling, but you can basically get involved by finding a property that someone wants to get rid of. You find a buyer, you put the two together. Sometimes the paperwork doesn't cost more than $100. So, and you can get a fee basically for connecting a property with a buyer. Also, there is seller financing. It could be also the same transaction, but maybe you have a property and you don't have any money to get in, or maybe you only have $500. The person wants to sell it. They're willing to carry back some paper here so that you can buy it from them. Maybe set up a 3-year, 5-year, 10-year. Some people I know that set up 30-year loans with the sellers, and you don't have to go to the bank. You don't have to get qualified. So I've made some links in there to various people that have done that, and ways that you can find out more about how to do that. Rent to own or lease options, another area we talked about, where basically you have a property that is being sold. Now, if you want to buy the property, of course, you would talk to the owner. Sometimes they have a very low down payment. They don't require a lot from you. And then you basically rent the property. And if you can qualify for the loan, you can refinance it and pay it off in full to the seller as time goes on. But if you don't have a lot of money to get in, lease option's a good option there. I mentioned, as I did when I talked about house hacking, zero down loans, like the FHA. I believe, I don't know if they still have them. They may have zero down loans. They do have 3.5% down loans. VA loans, you can go in for 0% down. And then there's hard money loans, usually short term, usually higher interest rates, but I'll have some links to those as well. So those are ways you can buy properties with zero or very little money down. You can assume a loan. There are still assumable loans out there. And if you're buying a property from somebody, you may not qualify for your own loan, but you might be able to qualify to assume the loan. So that's also a possibility. When you're looking at properties, find out if those loans are assumable. That might be a way for you to save some of your cash. Number 8, government and community down payment grants. I've done some blogs on this as well. I've talked about grants. This is a real viable way to get a down payment covered by a grant that you don't have to pay back. So, and then there's housing assistance organizations that can also help you with things along those lines, and that'll also be there with the link. And the final item, number 9 here, take a potential partner to lunch. And now, as you know, I've been doing these shows, over 500 podcasts here, and I always ask my guests, if you only had $1,000, you lost everything, how would you rebuild your business? And by taking people to lunch that might be interested in backing you in your new venture, and whether it's buying a property or starting a real estate business, finding a good partner can be as simple as a cup of coffee and a meeting, and getting going there. So I'll have a bunch of other references. I think I have more references in this than I have had in a long time. So all kinds of things on zero money down, buying real estate with no cash, or it's just a whole bunch of great links in here. So hopefully you guys will check that out. Well, that is it for today. Please note, Old Dog listeners, everything presented here can be accessed in our show notes on the Old Dogs website at olddogsreinetwork.com/blog. And you're going to look for the episode entitled Ask Bill, Private Money versus Bank Loans, Real Estate College Degrees, and Real Estate Investing for $500. Well, that's it for today. Remember, cash flow is king and real estate investing the means. Until next time, keep moving forward, and may God bless.
Thank you very much for visiting the Old Dogs REI Network. We would greatly appreciate if you would stop by iTunes and let us know what you think of the show. We would love if you could subscribe to the podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and write a review. The more ratings and reviews we receive, the more visible the podcast will be to others. Thank you.